Welcome to Beneath the Surface, the podcast that proudly lives local, with host, realtor, and investor Andy Algreen. And now, time for the show.
What's up, everybody? My name is Andy Algreen. I'm a realtor and investor here in Monroe, Iowa, and welcome to the first episode of the Beneath the Surface podcast, where we dive through the lens of its local businesses here in Monroe and have conversations with people who run and operate the businesses. So on this podcast, I don't just want to showcase what the businesses do and what they offer. I want to reveal who the people are that actually run the businesses. So with that, I want to thank Sean Wilson for being on the podcast. And
literally behind the lens on this one.
Yep.
Well, kind of our business here, isn't it?
Yep, for sure. So
thanks for having me, Andy.
Yeah, I appreciate you being on. So with that, I guess we'll just kind of jump right in and just want to start off with telling us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a Monroe native, and we're talking about, growing up here. Both my parents' parents are from here. My parents both moved back here when I was in second grade. So, and now my brother and his family, myself and my family, and my parents, we're from Monroe, and we all just kind of all gravitated back to Monroe, and This is where our home is.
Good deal. So you're with Hot SEWP Media?
Correct.
And then what is that? What does Hot SEWP stand for?
Hot SEWP. It's Sean Eric Wilson Productions. Okay. So a little play off my name. And we started out, it was Hot SEWP Video Kitchen. And literally we were upstairs in this building and there was a kitchen, but just kind of soup kitchen, hot soup. Hot soup's better than cold soup. Yep. So I don't know. It's just kind of a creative flexibility and taking liberties of calling it whatever I want to call it.
Good deal. And then what does your business do exactly?
Marketing, advertising, content creation. Sometimes I strip it all down and call it storytelling. Because if you're making a commercial for a business, you're essentially telling their story. But we really deal in authenticity and we go beyond like your basic 30-second commercials. We kind of put out, kind of like what you're doing now, like taking a business and getting to know the owners. And 9 times out of 10, there's a pretty fascinating story behind that. That's emotional. It makes an emotional connection.
Yep.
So that's what we kind of delve into.
Good deal. I guess, so how long, so it's just you running the business?
Just me right now. Hopefully in the future, I have this dream of, keeping a small business, but 2-3 employees that hop on board, because I've worked with a lot of really good bosses, and I've had the unfortunate, as we all have, with working for some not so great bosses. And I just know what it's like when you're in those situations that you have the good boss, and to bring in a creative team and give them that opportunity to work where they can come in every day and say, holy cow, I get to work here. I get to do this. Not necessarily for somebody, but with somebody, someone that values me, respects me, wants my opinion, just an environment that's creative. And, there's nothing better in life than waking up on a daily basis and saying, I get to do this today. Instead of waking up and going, oh, I don't want to go in.
Yep. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
But yeah, right now it's just me. We're just a little over 3 years in. It's been a solo fly job right now.
What did you do before?
I worked in media for most of my career, at KCCI. So a lot of creative producing, creative editing, that sort of thing, behind the camera, but mostly behind the computer, editing and writing.
College?
Sort of
No college?
Lots of colleges. That's not such a good thing. Lots of colleges with no degree. That old story. I ended up in a recording school in Los Angeles. And while I was out there, they had just started offering kind of a film side to the school. It wasn't 100% audio based any longer. And so I was out there, and it's like, I'm here. Why not take the film side of it as well? Mm-hmm. And then I moved right back to Iowa and fell into news. I fell into the videography and telling a story with a camera. And I just kind of, I don't know, you just kind of, like I said, it wasn't my initial, but I fell into it, and it's stuck. And I've been doing it now for 30 years.
Gotcha.
It's crazy. I'm old.
So you mentioned you've been doing it for about 3 years now. What's been one of the most, or if you want to give an example or whatever of the most rewarding part of just being a small business owner and owning your own business?
Well, I'd say that goes back to what we were just talking about, waking up every day, and instead of going, it's yes. Not that every single day is a perfect rainbow. You still run into a lot of snags. I've had a lot of sleepless nights, like, oh, where's the next paycheck coming from?
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, it's just the whole vibe of controlling your own destiny. It's just you can't put a dollar amount on the satisfaction that comes from that, and just the life changing mentality of, again, I worked at one place, and it was like Friday night. It's like, all right, it's Friday night. I should be happy it's the weekend.
Work for the weekend.
I was already dreading going in Monday morning.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, it's Friday. The work week's done. But in 2 more days, I got to go back.
Yep.
I don't have that anymore. And that wasn't at KCCI, believe me. Those guys they're still my friends and family.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Gotcha.
And then as far as, like we said, another rewarding thing, and that goes back to another thing that we talked about, where most businesses and business owners have a pretty exciting story to tell. And I think a lot of times they don't realize how much the story means to themselves until they see it in front of them, until they see it played back in front of their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell a lot of people, I'll sit down and do a story with them, and I'll kind of say, it's not necessarily what you're not trying to make them cry, but it's just, I'll say, I bet you $1 million when you sit down and watch this after I edit it, you're gonna be choked up. And most of the time it's like, and then sure enough, when they sit down and they watch their own story play back, you start seeing and it's like, they don't realize how emotional it is. And that's an emotional connection to their clients, their customers. It hits really close to home for them. And it's like, oh my gosh, this place does mean a lot to me.
Yeah.
So
was it when you made the transition from W-2 salary employee to running your own business?
Mm-hmm.
What were the thoughts, feelings going into that, knowing, because you didn't know where you're...
Oh, crap.
Yeah.
Because, like any other business, you have a roller coaster ride.
Mm-hmm.
And I go through months where there's constant work coming in. And then there's dry months, and you start getting those sleepless nights. It's like, oh man, now what?
Yep.
But luckily, just when you get to that point of like, the phone rings, an email comes in. It's like, hey, are you busy this week? We got this thing that we want to knock out. And you're like, well, let me check my schedule. Yeah, I think we can squeeze you in. And you're just like,
yep.
But that's probably the most stressful part of it.
Yeah. Just not knowing where.
Just not knowing
when it's going to come.
And then that also goes into, I'm a marketing business. I'm into promoting, and I always use the analogy of like when you're on an airplane and the oxygen masks deploy, they tell you to put your own oxygen mask on first, because if you get knocked out, you can't help anybody else. And I think a lot of times in our industry, like other people that do what I do, you're so worried about all your clients and taking care of their projects, you forget to put your own oxygen mask on and promote yourself.
Yep.
And so that's something that I've kind of been learning. It's like you have to force yourself to take some time and promote yourself. Because if I crumble, then I can't provide my services to the people that I'm really geared towards helping.
Yeah, building that foundation.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because we're really geared towards small business such as myself. I mean, that's kind of our passion.
Yeah.
Absolutely, we'll get hired on to do, I always say to do like some larger corporations and everything, but our passion is small business in small town.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
That's why our office is on the square. It's that mentality of, I believe and stand behind small business so much. And now that I am a small business owner, I like to use the phrase, it's like you own a small business and you live in, let's say Albia. Okay. And you come to me and you want to promote your small business that's on the square. It's like, okay, well, how are you to believe that I believe in you and your small town and your business if I don't show that same belief in my small town, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people in our business that think I have to be in Des Moines. I've got to be in West Des Moines. I've got to be where, it's like, no, I want to have a business on the square in Monroe.
Yep.
This is what I like looking out and seeing. I can do business with those companies in Des Moines. I don't have to have my office there.
Mm-hmm.
I can have it right here in the town I care about and have more storefronts that make a town look a lot more attractive than when you drive through and everything's shut down and closed. So that's important to me.
100%. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so I guess kind of going along with the local community, how do you see your business contributing to Monroe specifically, or just other smaller towns around?
Well, to Monroe specifically, I'd say being an affordable resource that people can reach out to. We like to work with small businesses that might not think that they can afford marketing, content creation, and work out a plan or a schedule with them and make them realize it's like, wow, why didn't we start doing this 5 years ago? And not only can we not afford it, or not only can we afford it, it's like, it's almost like we can't afford not to.
Mm-hmm.
It's like content creation and being being visible online is so important to the biggest of businesses, to the smallest of businesses. A lot of times people don't realize that, if you're not being seen in 2023, 24, 25, more than likely you're on the downswing. And it's just so vital to, again, get your stories out, be a constant force, a constant present. I always go, that Gary V, how do you say his last name? Vaynerchuk, whatever.
Yep.
I always tell people a quote he said, and this was a few years ago, and it just resonates with me, and it's always stuck, when he said, he goes, I would venture to say that 99% of all business grossly underestimates the amount of content
Mm-hmm.
they need to be putting out there to the world daily.
Yep.
It's like, that's pretty hard hitting from someone who's a self-made multimillionaire who kind of gets it.
Yeah.
And who promotes himself constantly. So it's important, and it shows.
Yeah. And if you see his story and how he started, it was himself behind a camera with testing bottles of wine.
Yep. That's right.
That's all he did.
That's all he did. And now look at him.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
Yes.
But yeah, I have seen some of your videos for the Gathering Place in Monroe, Monroe Foods, doing videos on that, and those are
well, look
good
at
videos.
And some of these companies have done things which are important, like putting out a post or a picture or a small video clip. But you talk about the importance of an emotional connection with the audience. So you put out a post and you might see 10 engagements, 15 engagements, 50 engagements, right? Where you might have 5 people comment on it. And then we put out a heart really emotionally connecting, kind of a long form video, 5-6, minutes. And all of a sudden those go through the roof, and you see now not 10 or 15 or 20 views, you see 5, 6, 7,000 views and 200 shares and 100 comments. That shows you the power of that and how people like to connect with your story. People take ownership of their small town businesses. Monroe Foods, that's my grocery store. Do I own it? No, it's my grocery store, right?
Yep.
And when you have that powerful connection, when everyone takes ownership of it, that's mine. That's powerful. That's my golf course. Do I own it? No. That's where I golf. That's where I grew up. That's mine. That's my, that's where I go get my tires. That's where I go. You just build this emotional connection and a kind of a personal pride and ownership of companies that you have no stake in, but you value their importance. What happens if all these businesses close down in a small town like Monroe, or a town of 2,000-ish, a little more, a little less?
Yep.
It hurts. So try to keep that alive and share their story and hopefully hit a few eyeballs, and maybe they pass through town and go, we got to stop there.
Yep.
It's a cool place. I saw the story. Yep.
I love that. Love the passion for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess kind of switching over to the lighter side of things, what's something about your business that people might find kind of surprising or interesting, or I don't know, something random, or
I always say we're open 24/7.
okay.
You know, if I had I've had a client. I have one particular. He's an early morning guy, and he's like, well, when can we meet? I'm like, you tell me, man. I'm on your schedule. And it was early. I mean, it was like, I don't know what time it was, like 5 o'clock or something. Is that too early? Nope. Get up, drive here, come up to the office. There he is sitting there in his truck, ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so I don't know, just I guess accessibility and being there.
Okay.
Of course, no business, especially if there's only one person in the shop, you can't be 24/7 all the time.
Yep.
But you try to be. You try to take pride in that. I don't know. Some.
I guess I meant to ask this earlier too. So when you create content for someone, how do you, is every, so if multiple business come up to you and they want to create a podcast or a video, are you creating somewhat of the same thing, or are you tailoring it to exactly kind of what they want? Or how does that process kind of work?
I think your first question with any company that wants to create anything and put it out there for the public to see is, what are you trying to accomplish? I could throw out an example of Monroe Foods when Pete and Priscilla were trying to sell the store. Okay, so you could make a video. So that's the problem. Our problem is we want to sell the store.
Yep.
Okay, so that being said, then you start working around the solutions to that problem and what can help them achieve that goal. So in a small town grocery store, you could put out a video that's like 30 seconds and say, hey, for sale. Well, how many square feet's you'd know this kind of stuff. You're a realtor. How much square feet would something like that be roughly? Shoot me rough.
4,000.
Okay. For sale, 4,000 square foot, this and that.
Yeah.
Okay. Or you could dig in and say, hey, here's a grocery store that was started in year this and this by the Fenimals. And they built this and then it sold to Bart Huter, and everyone has these generations of going into that grocery store, and you see how much it means to them that they're now part of the history of owning this store and what it means to the community. And you hear community members talk about, I've been coming to this grocery store since I was 5. That video is going to help hit their goal quicker than putting out a video. It's like, grocery store for sale, Highway 14. Here's the address, 4,000 square. It's like,
yep.
Okay, great. I could read that in a newspaper. But now all of a sudden, if you're like, I want that to be my life. Man, honey, do we have any funds like that? I've always dreamed of owning my own store like that. All of a sudden you start making those, pulling at the heartstrings and hitting the emotions. Oh, that's just kind of a cool thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So you really just tailor it specifically.
You tailor it specific.
Yep.
Some things are kind of a sad story.
Mm-hmm.
And that sad story might help achieve a goal.
Yep.
Some things are happy and uplifting. Some things are quirky. Some things are serious. You just, the vibe of meeting with the client, what their goal is, and then how can we accomplish those goals? So that being said, most marketing places develop a style, sometimes recognizable. And I think we definitely have a style here at Hot SEWP. So things branch off and get different from that style when I'm doing more corporate things where they already have a plan of attack that they want to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be an in-house thing, so it's not necessarily going out to the public. So then the work shifts to, okay, well, this isn't my style, but this is the style that they want, and this is what fits their company internally. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're going to make for them.
Yep.
So it just depends on where the project's coming from, what the goals are, and yeah.
Gotcha. So where do you see your business kind of going in the next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years in the future? How do you kind of see it evolving? You kind of mentioned a couple, maybe having 2 or 3 employees.
Yeah, we'll probably start with 1 employee, hopefully. And that was kind of my goal right away, was to bring in another person. When that's going to happen, I can't I can't sit down and say it is going to happen this year. I don't know that yet. Some things that I do know are going to happen. As you know, we're sitting in the old salon right here, and they've moved across the street to what used to be the old Casey's. And it's just, that's another thing. It's like you drive through the heart of Monroe and you see a boarded up vacant Casey's. And now you drive through and you see this beautiful salon. Mm-hmm. So they've upgraded by moving into their different location. I used to be upstairs in this place. So now I'm downstairs, and that's already a step in the right direction because I no longer have to haul gear up and down stairs. I'm a street level visible business, which keeps, which I've said earlier, I think just makes a small town more attractive when you see open, vibrant businesses. So something I'd like to do in this room in the next year would be to do a little bit of remodeling, a little bit of fix up here, fix up there, and then eventually do something that's not really related to me making money or cash flow, revenue, whatever you want to call it. Yep. But I'd like this to be a spot where we can bring in an artist from, say, Des Moines on a Friday night or a Saturday night and have like an open house. And people, business owners I know from other towns, local business owners, friends, family can come in, have some cheese and some wine or some craft beer and maybe look at 15, 20 pieces that this artist has brought in. So just having another reason to come up on the square and be involved with something cool. That's a goal within the next year.
Gotcha.
And then, I don't know.
That's
obviously go back to like putting my own oxygen mask on. I think that's another goal over the next year is to kind of hit my own cause a little harder and get myself out there more.
Yep.
So some businesses have a person that's a person, 2 people, 3 people. That's their only job is they're going out and knocking on the doors and making the phone calls. That's hard to do when you're also the person behind the computer putting the projects together.
Yep.
But you have to force yourself to get out there and do that. Otherwise, you're not going to have a computer to be sitting behind to edit.
Yep.
So.
Yep. There's always something in it when I feel this. I've been a realtor for a year-ish now, so I always feel that too. I feel like there's always going to be something in your job that you don't really want to do, but you got to do it anyways.
Mm-hmm. So. Well, it might not even be the fact that you don't want to do it. You sit there and you convince yourself, I don't have the time to do that.
Yeah.
And that's when you really need to step back and say, okay, well, if you look at it, everybody really has time to do anything they want to do.
Yep.
Make the time and do it.
Yep.
So it's just that. It sounds so easy, right?
Sounds so
just
easy.
Do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, I guess we might as well wrap it up. Is there anything else that you'd want to share about yourself, your business? How can people reach you? Anything like that?
www.hotsewp.com, and then always send me an email at sean@hotsewp.com. But I just going back to like the pride in your hometown. Like I hope that you're from like
Earlham.
Okay. Yep. Town very similar to Monroe. Mm-hmm. I've got friends that are all from towns just like this. I would hope to gosh that they all have a pride and a passion for the town that they live in. Get involved in it. I just finished my second 4-year stint on city council. What a learning experience. It's you don't have all the answers. I'm not dumb enough to fool myself into thinking I'm smart enough to have all the answers.
Yep.
But that's not what it's about. It's about just being involved and doing your best to try to help the community. I'm on the local volunteer fire department and EMS. It's just get involved, have pride in it. Small town, small business, I think is really, really hitting strides again. I think, and again, we all shop with the big guy. I order stuff off Amazon. It gets dropped off at my door.
Yep.
But what's the emotional connection versus having that shop that you've gone to and you've met this business owner and you're just like, wow, that was awesome. That was so cool. Mm-hmm. You don't have that same connection when you click a mouse and something gets dropped off at your door. There's a lot of retail, a lot of restaurants, a lot of small businesses that are just, if you deal with them once, and you have a good experience, you realize how important that is to our communities in the state of Iowa.
Yeah.
It's just
so important.
You can't measure the value of it.
Yep.
And if they're all gone, you'll notice.
Yep.
And it won't be fun.
Yep. My wife and I moved here 2.5 years ago, and we didn't know anybody in the town.
Mm-hmm.
And it was over the summer and we knew we were going to move to either Prairie City or Monroe. Found a house in Monroe, and we really didn't get to know that many people that first fall, winter, and then we joined the golf course.
Mm-hmm.
So we got involved that way and met a lot of people out there. And then we're starting to get involved at the gathering place
Mm-hmm.
Uptown. And then I will be serving as a city council member. So I'm excited to serve the community that way. But I think that's where it starts, is just having your heart in the right place.
Yep.
Serving.
We have a lot of people that are just such as yourself that they didn't grow up in this town. They moved in from other towns. Some bigger, some smaller, some extremely similar, but they move in and it doesn't take long. And there's so many people that I know. A lot of it stems from the golf course too. But it's like, I only know you because you moved here for some whatever reason. But it's just like, I feel like I've known you my whole life. It's just, you find that group, you fit in,
Yep.
and I think it's just a matter of getting involved.
Yep.
So,
yeah. Good deal. I appreciate you coming on and having a conversation with me.
well, I'm not normally on this side of things, so this is a little weird experience for me. I'm the one doing the questions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us beneath the surface. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for future episodes.